Can you feel it? The beckoning call of the wild. The kindling in your spirit when you hear the untamed howls of the wilderness. The immolation in your blood as the thrill of the hunt pours over you. Smoldering remains of your enemies lay in waste behind as you conquer and bond with beasts of unwavering loyalty and ferocity. And only whispers dare call your name, as all fear the swift death that falls from your aim, for you are the hunter.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Cloak and Quiver podcast. My name is Solar, and today is going to be a very fun episode. We are bringing in two guests this time onto the show, Artemishowl and Shoot, both of whom I've met recently with the Team Hunter project, and we're going to be talking about a little bit about what the Team Hunter project is, and kind of a little bit about what our current thoughts on beta are, as well as maybe a bit of a Blizzcon update as to the Hunter meeting that we all want to kind of congregate for. And it's a big interview, as they tend to be, so I'm going to try and keep this intro short. I want to talk about a few things very quickly, and then we're going to go right into it. So I want to talk about beta very briefly. Beta is still chugging along. I've been getting in some raiding experience, doing the PTR test for the heroic raids currently, which is normal raids now. And they've been fun. I'll talk about this more on next week's show when we're not so pressed for time. I didn't realize it was going to be such a long show. It's going to be over an hour. So next episode is going to be a lot more beta discussion, kind of how things are shaping up. There have been some class changes. You'll talk about them a little bit in the interview, but not a whole lot. It's an interview that covers quite a myriad of topics, so I think it'll be a pretty broad show, which I like. But let's get right into it. I'll stop blabbering, and without any further ado, here is our interview with Artemishowl and Shoot. Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. Okay, hello everybody. Today with me I have two very prominent hunters in our community. I have Artemishowl of Blood Legion and Shoot of Nightmare Asylum here to talk with us about a number of topics. One of them being Team Hunter, which is a newfound raid team comprised entirely of hunters that has been taking a lot of names and doing a lot of awesome content. And I also want to talk a little bit about beta with these two players, because they're both doing raid testing and are trying out all of the specs quite intensively. So without any further ado, welcome Artemis, Shoot. Hello.
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 Hi. All right, cool, guys. I'm glad to have you on the show. Very excited. It's been a while since we've had a guest. Our last guest was Roger Brown, like months ago, so it's been good to hear some new voices. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Team Hunter first, for those of you that don't know. Shoot, could you tell us a little about what Team Hunter is?
Yeah, so Team Hunter is basically a group of hunters that was comprised and thought of by myself and Artemis, like the idea to get a bunch of hunters together and go and try current content, so you could say like tier 14, tier 15, tier 16 stuff in the current expansion.
Yeah, it's been cool. I saw interest on the Elitist Jerks forum, remember the soloing page, and I talked to you briefly about it. I was like, hey, how is this going to go down? And I was just talking to Shoot, so Artemis, when did you come on board with this? How did you get involved?
I saw the idea being thrown around on MMO Champ, but nothing ever really gained momentum out of it, and I kind of just looked at Shoot and I'm like, hey, you should have me on Battletag and we should talk about this a little bit more. And not even in a week, we already gathered up enough people to go tackle down tier 14 normal 25-man and go see what we can do.
Yeah, right on. I missed the first round just because I had no idea it was actually a reality at this point. I knew it was a kind of an idea, and I actually mentioned it to the listeners of the show. I'm like, hey, we should do something like this, and we didn't know whether to do it on Horde or Alliance. And so did you guys just pick Horde because that was where your mains were, I'd imagine?
Yeah.
And what would you say to our Alliance listeners? Do they have anything to look forward to, or are they on their own?
I would like to just throw this out there, that I started this idea to help the hunter community really start getting together and do fun stuff, while farm content is just highly boring. I mean, let's be real here. So if you're an Alliance player out there, we don't have Alliance mains, unfortunately. We even have an Alliance guy with a Horde Hunter alt in our raid group for various reasons. But start up your own group. Just get out there, start gathering people. You don't need, like, everybody doesn't need to be skilled in order to do tier 14 stuff. Just get out there, have fun, start learning what you guys can do together as a group, and really start doing things. It's fun.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun. And speaking of which, you said start learning how to do things. I wanted to talk a little bit about how Team Hunter does strategy brainstorming. I know we have our pre-Mumble meetings before the raid, the day prior to talk about stuff, but how do you guys go? What is the process that you take when you want to do brainstorm process for strategy on all these bosses? I mean, it's not... We take vastly different approaches often to bosses that otherwise with a normal raid composition you would do completely differently. Shoot, how do you usually go through this process?
Well, I think a lot of it is obviously kind of the same as, when you're progression rating. I mean, you kind of just, put in some polls on things you aren't sure about, and you start to see, like, what works and what doesn't work, obviously. But a lot of it, too, like you said, is, just being prepared the day prior, and, a lot of what I do as one person, just thinking about how I can translate that into, like, what 25 people do in terms of a soloing perspective. And a lot of the time, obviously it ends up working out, but obviously we've had to go back and rework, different strats in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like, with twins.
Yes, that was multiple reasons. Yeah,
definitely a lot of fun. So we definitely do have to change things on the fly, but I mean, like I said, just kind of pulling things, seeing what works, what doesn't work. Healing is always very limited, so that's kind of an issue at times.
Yeah, like knowing when to use deterrences and things like that, or cycling Spirit Beast. I kind of wanted to give examples for people that may not have seen it, like how we, use, like, without healers, we bring Spirit Beast to the raid and we cycle through when we need heavy healing, or like disengage with the Liberation Glyph on cooldown. So things like that to kind of give an insight as to how it goes down. But what have you guys enjoyed so far about Team Hunter? What have you gotten out of it so far that you've really liked? Artemis, perhaps?
I think each week we go in, we tackle something new, even if it's a really slow week for myself when I can't plan these accordingly like I want to. So, like, last week we went in there and we took down twins. Even though it was on 10-man, even though it was, like, not in our 25-man setting, it still felt really, really good to kill that, because we had to look at that at many different angles in order to get that down.
Yes, it was very rewarding, indeed. And Shoot, what have you enjoyed so far with Team Hunter? I think we've gotten a lot of mileage out of this so far, and there's still a lot to come, but what have you liked best?
I mean, I've kind of liked seeing just what we're capable of and some of the crazy stuff we could come up with just as a group. That's been, like, the most fun for me. I mean, our Megara kill it's just really cool strategy, and just different stuff like that.
4 people being alive, at the
just
end.
Yeah, why don't you
seeing
tell
what
us a little bit about that?
People could come up with and stuff like that.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the Megara fight for those of you that may not have seen it on the show? Like how it goes down?
So originally, Megara, in the meeting when we discussed it, we thought pretty much that we were not going to cycle rampages. That's when you kill one of the heads, and then all of a sudden the raid's taking a bunch of AoE damage for a bit, and then it usually stops. But in our case, we realized that tanking the heads was not an option. Pets could not survive taking the hits from the heads, and neither could a player for very long. So through a little bit of trial and error, we realized that keeping Megara and the rampage, since the heads technically are not active and hitting players during the rampage, would be more optimal, but we would have to do a massive amount of healing to ourselves because the rampage would just continue. So that's kind of a basic, like, TLDR version of it, even though that was sort of a semi-lengthy explanation.
That's fine. I like that. And yeah, that's very true. Like, you have to, figure out what works. I'd say it's a lot like soloing. Trial and error has been, I think, the biggest thing I've taken away from this. But I've just enjoyed that the community gets together. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like that we seriously clean up in these raids, but I just like to see 25, 10 hunters, having fun together, raiding. That's been something that I don't think has ever happened, really. I mean, DKs have had their fun, right? You see those 10 DK raids and 25 DK raids all the time, but I'm glad that the hunters are finally coming out of the closet and the woodworks and stuff like that.
Don't be about those scummy warlocks.
And the scummy warlocks. This is true.
Warlocks. And they're always like, well, we did it first. And I was like, well, I wish I was overpowered like you, but unfortunately I rolled green.
This is true. Yes, I've often wished I had the self-healing that a warlock does. It would be so nice.
Oh my god, Healthstones. Yeah. I like how... This is no offense to anyone on our team, but when we were discussing possibly doing Heroic Megara, we don't use outside items from other classes when we do these, and people were just like, maybe we should use a Healthstone for this, or that. Healthstones would be nice for this.
I think I brought that up. I was like, hey, can I go into Proving Grounds and get the Hellstone Will? Okay,
it was not just you.
Yeah, well, they're handy. They're handy, what can you say? So what's been your favorite kill so far? Artemis and Shoot as well.
Wind Bams.
Wind Bams. Probably for me, 10-man Shaw was pretty fun. I think 25 Heroic Dark Animus as well, just because people played extremely well during it. It was really, people just were very good about ping-ponging the boss and doing good holds with deterrences on the Dark Animus, so I think that's probably been my favorite. Maybe 10-man Heroic Dark Animus, actually, because that's probably the best kill. The cleanest kill I've ever seen. So. Yeah.
What about you, Artemis?
Actually, 25-man Heroic Iron Con.
I was just about,
Not to my horn or anything, but no, that fight was actually really, really scary at the end, because we were just we had to rethink about the mechanics that we didn't think about the first time going in there, and people played very well on our kill. There's people feign death ping-ponging the boss back and forth, and it was just so nice.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Rocket booting and kiting it away. I saw some people do some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, and that was a tough one too, because because it changes the raid dynamic. I mean, with 25 ranged only DPS, and you have a ranged mechanic that spreads the lightning debuff, it made it positioning very frustrating for a lot of people. So once we finally cleaned that up and actually got the kill, our positioning was really well. So it was a good kill. I think my favorite so far has probably been Twins, just because it was the most time invested, I think, so far in one of our kills. Unless I'm mistaken, I missed the tier 14 run. Has there been a boss that has required more effort than Twins?
Amber Shaper, maybe? If we didn't have, shout out to Div. If we didn't have Div, I feel like Amber Shaper would have been a nightmare, because, I don't know, maybe other people, if they got the right timing and the shoes, they would have done what he did, but if he weren't stacking the debuff on what we needed to be stacked on, other people in our previous attempts just weren't doing it, even though we asked them to. And that really helped us out.
For, Amber Shaper, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Shoot, do you have anything to say about that? Any tougher kills than Twins thus far?
No, I mean, Amber Shaper was definitely tough. Just because people were not interrupting with 2 on the suit.
Oh, and, yes.
That was...
Has anyone ever interrupted with 2 on the suit, either or? I mean, that fight, I can't even tell you how many blasts I've seen go off in the last 2 years. I mean,
it was pretty bad, but Div pretty much carried the entire team on that one by stacking the boss to, I think it was 17 debuffs, and just, I mean, he just kept in, the suit and 8 puddles and just played really, really well. I mean, Div's the mechanic boss, so yeah.
Awesome. So I also, before we move on, I kind of want to know, often, you see the Mana Flask interviews where they ask, Method or Blood Legion or whoever is currently owning that tier, what's been the funniest moment thus far in the raid? Do you guys have one?
Wind Bams.
Wind Vans? I definitely was not there for Wind Vans. That sounds like a, what's his name? Blade Lord.
Oh, it was a very fun night when we were doing the first kill of it, actually, on 25-man, normal. People just forgot the wind bomb mechanic was a thing, and kept fighting to it.
Oh, The fourth boss after Garelon. What's his name?
Yeah.
Windlord,
Windlord, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was going on? People didn't know that the wind bombs were a thing and they wouldn't move?
It just felt like people forgot what wind bombs were, bless their souls, but oh my goodness. They kept blowing up in rain. We had a couple wipes just because of wind bombs. And Shoot has a very funny VOD of his experience with them, too.
Yeah, Arkilla was actually the only person to hit a wind bomb.
Oof.
Because I'm pretty awesome. But, no. Looking back on it, strategy-wise, from a strategy perspective, I think that just the way we do it now, or the way we did it in the heroic kill, I feel like we could just execute that strategy in normal or heroic and it wouldn't matter, and I don't think anybody would hit a wind bomb with that strategy just because it's a much better strategy, because originally we were spreading out like horizontally kind of by the spears, and that was probably what was causing people to get hit rather than, you know, tanking the boss in the middle or and all the ads in the middle. So yeah.
Right on, yeah. If only we had a class that could DPS fully on the move, the bombs wouldn't be such an issue.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah. Nice. That's cool, though. I'm glad. Yeah, Team Hunter's been a whole lot of fun. I've been leveling a Hunter. I just got him, or actually, it's been a while, but I haven't touched him, to 90, and it's Alliance side, and I've just been gearing up right now. But do you, I mean, because I kind of want to get, like, Cloak and Quiver, I wouldn't say endorsed, but like Team Hunter kind of run for the Alliance. Is that something that you guys would ever be a part of as well?
I do actually have an Alliance Hunter that's 543.
Nice, excellent.
I don't have shit on the Alliance.
Yeah, I know some people. I know some people definitely cry Alliance scum whenever blue and gold is mentioned, for sure. But I also like to play both sides of the field, especially when it comes to grouping. I always feel like if I have an exclusively like Horde main, that whenever something happens on the Alliance, I feel very left out. So I'm trying to keep it balanced, and I probably will in WoD too, to have a Horde and Alliance Hunter.
We make fun of him all the time, but like Clipper does have two hunters, two on the best of both worlds, both geared, of course, and well, there's a reason why on the spreadsheet is noticed the way it is all the time.
Alliance scum. Yep.
But that's a good idea. I'm trying to level a second hunter on the Horde right now, because I might sneak that in as one of my alts in WoD. Not sure yet.
On the Horde server?
Yeah.
Should be on the Alliance.
Well, I'll make a third one.
Wow, that's crazy.
Dedication.
It is dedication. But yeah, it's been something to do too, leveling up that second hunter, or gearing rather. It's been something to do. Even though, yeah, running LFRs and stuff is running LFRs, of course, but been real rough. But yeah, so that's been Team Hunter. Is there any final words you guys want to say? Any shout outs or closing thoughts?
Shoot.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Artemis, do you have anybody to give a shout out to or any closing thoughts?
I just want to give a shout out to the Hunter community for constantly being supportive each week. We've been doing this for almost 2 months now. I think this week will be our 8th week. And it's just been surreal, like how much has been happening since this whole thing has started. And it wouldn't be without the help of everyone who's been involved, whether people watching the stream weekly, the envious Alliance players who want to get in on the action and just constantly stare at us on the sidelines, the people that come weekly, even though we do like pretty boring content sometimes with 10-mans, just everyone has been involved. Thank you.
And there you have it. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a whole lot of fun, guys. So if that's something you're interested in immediately, I would say go Horde. And Alliance we're still working on. I did promise my listeners like a Alliance run once I gear this Hunter up to a semi-appropriate item level. So that's still in the pipes. But other than that, yeah, we'll see where it goes. Quick break. I forgot what I was going to say next. So give me a second to try and find a way to segue into... Here we go. I got it. Okay. So when you guys are looking to... Okay, quick edit break right there. When you guys are looking to find players for this, what kind of criteria are you looking at for someone who would be interested in doing this? I mean, I understand that gear plays a very important role, but what kind of raider are you looking to pick up here? Because no disrespect to anybody, but we cycled through a few hunters in my time being here. What do you guys find valuable?
players who are willing to do what it takes to sacrifice your DPS to ensure they meet the needs of the raid's current requirements to tackle a boss is very important to me. If you're not willing to do like jobs, if you're not willing to do something outside of just doing damage, like we don't do this to show off our DPS or anything. We do this to like conquer things together as a group. So people that have a good attitude about things, a team-like mindset, have good experience from heroics and previous tiers, really do help out. There's been some exceptions to the rule, but they've proved the other two qualifications, and it doesn't faze me. So that's it for my book. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean I'm pretty much in the same agreement with that. I mean, we just are looking for people that, like she said, we don't really worry too much about damage and stuff like that. We're more worried about people, just executing mechanics correctly and doing little things to stay alive, like bringing the spirit beasts from Megara and other stuff like that. I mean, damage is important, obviously, as well, because a lot of what we do is Zerg based, and
Yes.
that's very, very true, but at the end of the day, we need people that are able to just execute mechanics really well and follow like very, very simple requirements. So
Yeah, and I mean I guess kind of give more examples for people who like. I know this was a whole new world to me. I mean, not necessarily soloing, but like all hunter raids and what that would even entail. But like for Dark Animus, making your pet tenacity and turning off Thunderstomp so it wouldn't aggro any nearby anima or anything like that. Or like for Twins, when Shoot was pet tanking, he would cycle his cooldowns like Last Stand and Cower, but in between there was a short lapse where there was no cooldown. I mean, I would Spirit Bond his pet to kind of fill the void there. So there's things like that you have to be looking to do as well. It's not just pure DPS, it's also being a team player as well and looking into how can I squeeze out the most utility from my tool belt to help the raid. And that's been the fun challenge too for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, I feel like these raids really do help other players in any field of wherever they're raiding at look more in depth into like their spellbook, for example, and just really get a grasp of what they can do outside of this, and maybe bring it back to their raid group for a future raids like WOD. Who knows what you could be doing with the skills you're learning here. I mean, I know half their abilities are being taken away, I get it, but extraneous tasks, you've been doing these for a couple weeks, what's up now. You can probably take on the world.
Yeah, speaking of WOD, actually, fantastic. Good job, Artemis. Excellent segue. Let's talk about beta. So let's discuss a little bit about the specs so far. I mean, obviously, beta is vastly changing, and be very clear that the numbers pass has not gone out yet. Things are still being worked on. Last episode, we talked briefly about my impressions on all three specs as they stood about a week and a half ago. So I kind of want to know what your guys' spec impressions are so far of the three specs. What do you think? Artemis, we'll start with you. What do you like so far? What don't you like?
I like that they tried making all the specs feel different, but I feel like they approach survival marksman in a bad way, because now the playstyle for those two specs feels very unorganic. And that's because they want you to pull lock and load charges with survival. They want you to play without some kind of personal CD to make.
Hello, breaking up there. Artemis, you there? Shoot, you there? Hello.
It could give a debuff and do some damage over time, or if it picks the frost side, it does like all of its damage up front in one go. Just something, I don't know. Marksman and survival feel flavorless, and then you go to BM, and BM doesn't feel like it's been touched like at all.
Yes.
Mine's like, oh, we moved Stampede to the talent tree. Pick it.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I've talked about. Can you guys hear me?
yeah.
I'm having
Yeah.
some interesting audios. Okay. Yes. All right. Good. Edit point. Okay. Again, but speaking of flavorless, kind of, or not flavorless necessarily, but a little bit watered down. The cooldown that's missing from survival, I think, is a big one. Because, it's nice to have options. I think all 3 of the specs should have a DPS cooldown already built into it. And then by being able to take whether or not you want DPS cooldowns in your talent tree or passives, depending on what the fight needs. Like, say, if it's like a Nazgrim fight, you probably want to take a heavy Stampede if there's like a Zerg phase or something like that. I think that offers variety, and that's something that's kind of lacking with survival. But yeah, you talked about pulling up the lock and load charges. I believe that I have only played survival briefly on the beta. It's mainly been marksman and BM because I'm kind of uninterested in survival, and I personally do not like RNG whatsoever. I don't like our PPM trinkets. I don't like how multi-strike is affecting the Black Arrow. It's very unpredictable. But what would you... How do I phrase this? How would... Hang on one second. How would you... describe survival. What do you think needs to be fixed? I really feel like it's my least favorite so far by a large margin, largely due to RNG, but I think that's my personal opinion. How do you feel about it?
I think the biggest issue is your signature shot needs to be pooled, and that alone feels weird, because maybe for 2 stacks, you got those pretty quick, cool, you feel like you need to hold on to those though, because you might get more stacks soon. But oh wait, Black Arrow fell off, and you can't put it up for another couple seconds. Fun! And then you're sitting there wondering why you can't use your signature shot until you have 4 to 5 stacks. Probably want to use it around 4, so you don't accidentally waste anything. But it's just clunky. Like, they should add, if they're gonna make it so you pull your signature shot and delay it for so long, you should at least have something else to compensate for it, and not just arcane shot spam, because oh my gosh, that is boring. Another thing is, the devs keep tweeting that, like, you don't need a DPS cooldown because you can use your talents. And that's basically saying, well, you shouldn't give Marksman Rapid Fire because they have talents. You shouldn't give PM Focus Fire or Beetle Wrap, they have talents.
Yeah, I believe that to be a very cop-out response as well. And like I said, by adding a already baked-in cooldown to survival, it gives you more options with your talent tree, which I think provides for a lot more engaging gameplay anyway, by being able to choose what works best. On a fight-to-fight basis, it just gives you more options. Like, if you don't need a DPS cooldown for that fight, maybe you can pick a few passives. I mean, we don't, I guess, know the number tuning quite yet, but I believe that there are options with that route if they give survival a cooldown. But yeah, I feel like BM has stayed largely the same, and that survival is very frustrating to play for me so far. And then marksman has been interesting as well. Shoot, how do you feel about marksman? I'm sure you've been giving it quite the go.
Yeah, initially into beta testing, I think I was playing a lot of marksmanship. Lately I've been playing a lot of Beast Mastery, just because obviously it's kind of looking the best right now, but marksmanship, it feels fine, honestly, in terms, not like obviously number wise, because tuning still needs to happen, and tuning hasn't happened obviously across the board, but it feels, the actual play style of it feels fine. I'm not really sure how I feel about focusing shot, or why you would ever choose that, in terms of it's just not really that substantial right now. I feel like just adaptation, or I guess lone wolf or whatever, is the best for marksman, and honestly probably BM at the moment. So
yeah, the pet damage breakdown when I was using adaptation or whatever it is on the raid testing, it was like 40% damage from me and like 60 from my pet. I was getting attempts of upwards of like 65% amount of pet damage done with that talent. It was absurd.
Yeah, but rotationally, like marksman feels, it feels okay. It feels fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very many buttons.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, it's definitely not very many buttons, but it feels fine, and aim shot being baked in and not having to be glyphed is definitely a little QOL bump for that spec, so that's pretty nice.
And you mentioned not caring for focusing shots so much. I kind of enjoyed it just because I felt like the focus return was worth it. And then I was playing with Thrill of the Hunt as well with marksman, so it kind of made it fun to regenerate large amounts of focus and then dump very cheap aim shots in between my Chimera cooldown. I enjoyed that quite a bit. But what has been your gripe with focusing shot, shoot, and Artemis? If you guys have something to say about focusing shot, by all means.
It's very. It feels weird because I'm used to like hitting. I don't know, it's just probably just a skill thing, not getting into it. But you know, you just used to hitting steady shot twice.
Yeah.
Usually to pull focus, and then here it's like, just hit it once. It takes a while to cast, so you'll sit there for a while. But just do it once, and you got all you need. And it's nice, I guess, but it's just a little boring compared to the other talent choices on the Hunter tier, which I know, again, that's not really saying too much, but that's just how I feel about it.
I mean, I guess my main issue with it is that you have that, right? And then you have Lone Wolf. So you have your choice between that and Lone Wolf. Well, your steady shot damage, I think I logged this. I should probably rerun a log at some point because I'd be curious to test this, but your actual, using steady shot with Lone Wolf, and then instead of, just using focusing shot, and compare the damage, because if you compare the damage of steady shot and focusing shot, you could probably figure out, honestly, if Lone Wolf would be worth it.
Yes.
I mean, that's my main gripe. I just don't think that Lone Wolf is not worth it over focusing shot right now, because Lone Wolf is so good.
Yeah, it's 30%. Didn't they just rework it? I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but isn't it like excluding a few variables?
Like, yeah, it excludes, I think, forms of AoE, I want to say. It still gets all your signature shots. I think it was, like, I'm trying to remember. I had it written down somewhere. It was, maybe it was Beast Cleave that it, didn't benefit. Let me actually take a look. I'm kind of curious.
Oh, here it is. Lone Wolf only increases damage of auto shot, arcane shot, cobra shot, black arrow, and explosive shot, rather than all damage. So yes, we are missing out on that multi.
Yeah, the multi, that was what it was.
It's interesting, though, that not even Serpent Sting is affected by this Lone Wolf damage. So remember how Serpent Spread is the only way you can get Serpent Sting as survival. That's not even being affected as well. That might be a little underwhelming.
So that's kind of like a AoE nerf of sorts, I guess
Indeed.
you could say.
I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk the big one, you guys. Aspect of the Fox, impressions. Artemis, I know you have a lot to say on this, so by all means, go ahead.
TLDR, if the game design is so everybody is going to be getting a special snowflake button, then it's about time that we get something that's at least nice to bring to the raid team.
Yeah, I honestly had expected more. I understand the situational use of this cooldown, don't get me wrong. I'm always a cynic, it seems like, on this show, but I honestly felt like it could have been a little bit more appealing. I was hoping for a bit more, I want to say defensive, and don't get me wrong, I understand that this can work as a defensive. Say there is a period of high movement, and your healers can obviously activate this, or you can activate this for your healers, and you will get more healing. So in that way, it does work as a survival/defensive cooldown, but I was hoping for something that was a little bit more like Mage's Amplify Magic, where it was very direct in what this does. It's going to increase the healing. What do you feel about the actual design part of it, though? It's face value. How do you take that?
Based on it makes sense. It's based on what hunters are going to be in WoD. We're the only ranged class that can have the mobility that we have, and it makes sense that we have a raid CD based around that. Sure, it doesn't benefit us in, like, whatever we want it to do, because we're already really mobile, but it doesn't matter. It's raid utility. It's a little silly that pure DPS classes are getting raid utility. I mean, I know they neutered down on a lot of classes, but I don't know. I just hope that... I'm just saying, with the design and how it is, I'm glad they gave us something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly going to be trying to fit this in as many situations as possible. Shoot, do you have anything to say on Aspect of the Fox before I want to bring up another point?
I mean, I was actually kind of in the same boat. I thought it was a little underwhelming at first, but I feel like as a raid cooldown, I mean, it makes sense, because we are the most mobile ranged DPS class, like Artemis said. So I mean, it makes sense, and it definitely will probably be a pretty strong cooldown for, very niche situations.
Yeah. Like bombardment phase, like if in Garrosh, like when he does bombardment in phase 4, popping this would be probably pretty nice. I mean, obviously the damage intake during that phase is very minimal, but I mean, had there be a situation like this in Warlords, I could see that being very useful.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to take like a situation, on live and add Fox to it, I mean, the best one for Garrosh, at least, like you said, I think honestly, like whirling, if you're one of those guilds that moves as a group during a whirling, that would be an amazing cooldown to be able to chain heal people, as they're moving. That would just be
very much so.
Very powerful.
And we are one of those groups as well, so good idea, and I agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be some good uses for it, I think. So I kind of honestly like it. I think it's a good idea.
No, I agree. I will not complain too much about it. I mean, I honestly know that, like Artemis said, it is hunter flavor. We are the only class that can DPS fully on the move, and this is something that offers that utility to certain other classes, but it's still there. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be used, so I'm sure of it. But you kind of mentioned, or briefly, I don't remember what it was exactly, but nice segue, Solar. Anyway, so what I wanted to get at was raid composition. How does this change? Are we going to look at stacking hunters for certain things? I mean, how do you take this as a like at a power level in terms of this is really useful? Am I going to need to stack hunters for this? Do you think raid compositions are going to change around this?
Too early to tell.
Too early to tell, yeah. I think that, maybe I haven't honestly looked at all the mythic mechanics to see if there's because it's a 6-second cooldown, so assumably let's quantify stacking as like 4 or 5, maybe 5 being kind of the outlier, but 4 hunters, right? So 24 seconds of aspect of the fox. So the real question is like, is that pertinent in a in a mythic boss situation for one of the mythic bosses, right?
Yeah.
Like Artemis said, yeah, too early to tell. Kind of cut her off there, but yeah.
And you're right. I mean, like you said, 24 seconds of uninhibited casting. When was the last time you needed something like that?
Yeah. So it's too. I mean, we just have to see based on the encounters and how they go.
Indeed. I also wanted to talk about, now that we something about movement, and it was kind of, I don't mean to backtrack a little bit, but going back to specs a little bit. What is your guys' impression on Marksman's Mastery sniper training? I know I have my take, but I'd like to hear your guys' first. Artemis, would you like to go or shoot? Anyone have a immediate thought? Artemis?
It's nice because now it feels like there's a bit of skill cap involved. There's going to be mobility fights in WoW, sure, but I feel like if you can really master how a fight works movement-wise and get the dance down right, and you're sitting there like sniper training like a champ, I feel like you're going to do pretty well, but the downside is we don't know what number tuning is going to be like, and sniper training could probably not matter if BM is going to be the dominant spec.
Yes, it is shaping up. It's certainly shaping up to be that way. Yeah, Shoot, do you have anything to say about sniper training?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds that skill factor back, because sniper training used to be a thing, not fairly long ago, but not in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, but not in the grand scheme of things too long ago, and they took out auto shotting. When you used to have to stop to auto shot, and you had to like stutter step, or otherwise you would miss auto shots.
Yes,
so
those
they
days.
took that out. So I can see sniper training being. I mean, it's not super punishing either. You have a good amount of time to move.
Do you believe so?
6 seconds, yeah. And you get 3 seconds in the window to stand still again.
You can also disengage, and that definitely clips off a second or two as well. That buys you a second
It
or two
does,
more.
yeah. It's a faster movement, a faster way to
Um,
move. But sorry, would you like to finish?
oh yeah,
My
no,
apologies.
that's fine. It's, I mean, it, I think it's a reasonable amount of time to move. I have seen people's gripes with it not being a reasonable amount of time to move. But I feel like it's a reasonable amount of time to move. Now you take that and then you add focusing shot, and it might seem a little bit more like an unreasonable time to move. Um, but as marksmanship, I feel like you'd just be taking lone wolf anyway, so that wouldn't really be a factor. But I could see, sniper training plus having to deal with, focusing shot being a very long cast. Well, probably a longer cast.
Yeah, I mean
It'd be,
it's a 3 second base cast. It's
yeah, I
hefty.
mean, just being a longer cast, I can see that definitely being an issue. So, yeah.
My concern with sniper training was I honestly felt like the window of opportunity was very minimal. Like any mechanic that required movement, barred from maybe 10 feet or less, anything more drastic than that, you would lose the buff. For example, a desecrated weapon. Do you guys bait those out? I'd imagine you do. Are you baiting group?
Yeah, we bait them out, yeah.
Okay. If you had to move out for that, you would lose your sniper training buff, for example. I understand that it is a skill cap to use effectively in certain situations, but I believe it is bad design if there is nothing you can do about finding and keeping optimal damage during this. Like if there's a fight that says you have to move here for X amount of seconds, sorry, sniper training. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'd say my suggestion is to buff the timer up by an additional 2 seconds. But what is your guys' take on this? I honestly feel like for some mechanics during live, it would be totally useless for this encounter.
I'm gonna sound like a butt for a second.
No, go
but
ahead. This is why you're on the show. I want to hear your opinion.
There's a reason why there's dual specs, and if a fight is that intense on movement, you should probably pick either marksman or I'm sorry, BM or survival.
Yeah, I was just saying. I mean, yeah, of course, I agree
It
with
does
that.
have its flaws, but arcane mages,
Yes.
even if it was like flavor of the month, they'll still pick another spec if they can't fully effectively play their spec right.
This is true. I suppose that is a very good point. If it makes no sense to play the spec, why would you do it? But I guess I would be speaking to a number of players that just want to play what they want to play. Perhaps not the most cutting edge of players.
Yeah, but if you're not having fun either doing it because, the movement mechanics are too much, like I said, you just gotta suck it up or play another spec. That's not even having to be cutting edge. It's just a matter of having fun for myself. Like, I want to do good damage too.
For sure. No, and I agree with that. So I agree. Deal. However, what if Marksman ends up being the best rating spec and we have to take Marksman, I guess. What would your take on this be now that you actually have to play Marksman and you're forced and you're stuck with sniper training? Then what would you say to that?
I would find ways to make it work on movement fights. It would, if it's still viable with or without sniper training. Like, I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't be too much of an issue then either.
Yeah, shoot. What do you feel about that? If Marksman ends up being the number one, how would you handle your sniper training, even if there were fights where you couldn't even get like maybe 80% uptime just because of the movement required?
I mean, that could end up being a reality, but I'm not confident it will be that way. But if that ends up being a reality, then I suppose you just have to deal with, trying to minimize your movement, and there's always going to be that skill cap, and there's going to be situations where you really just need to have perfect movement, and I mean, that's just going to be a requirement, I guess. You just have to deal with it.
Yeah, okay.
There's no way around it.
True enough. All right, word. Good talk. I totally agree with those points. So, moving on now to a little bit more beta talk. I know both of you guys are with, of course, very organized rating teams. I mean, Blood Legion and Artemishowl, both very established. How have you guys, Artemis, speak to this as you can, how have you guys enjoyed raid testing so far? What have your thoughts been?
There have been some fights where they definitely are very different, and I appreciate how they've been playing out so far, and I can't wait to do more tests in the future to see what else Blizzard has in store, really.
Mr. Shoot?
I mean, things have been definitely interesting so far. Little disappointed that the one testing was canceled that one day.
Wasn't that due to server issues?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I had stayed up that night, and I'm kind of an insomniac and night owl, so yeah, I was pretty bummed out, and that was one of the bosses I was looking forward to testing the most, just because I thought it was a really cool concept. But
Which testing was this?
it was the day for Flamebender Kagraz and Beastlord Darmak.
Oh, the tests are doing tomorrow that they just posted.
Oh, did they just post?
Oh,
Yes,
a
they
new
did.
test up? Exciting.
And I can't make them because of work now, so
Good, I can have
but
your spot. Fantastic.
You
So-
can have my spot.
Yes!
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. The bosses have definitely been interesting so far, and yeah, like Artemis said, I'm really excited for the testing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys have been testing them. As far as a hunter standpoint is concerned, how do you think we'll be doing on these? I mean, from the 4 that we've gotten to test, I mean, do you feel like there are some major drawbacks that we're going to have to acclimate to, or are we just going BM and doing the same thing we've been doing the last year, or even expansion really?
Unfortunately, well, I mean, we did the first 2 tests without Fox, but they were really patchworky. But it's been weird without fine line number tuning. And there's been people I've seen on other streams at least have been like cheating with legendary.
Shadow freeze.
Yeah, that's so helping your class's numbers. By the way, just saying, they're gonna like totally invalidate all the stuff they did because
Yeah.
you're doing that stuff. So, to any hunter out there listening, please don't do anything silly for this, for our sake, for the hunters' community's sake. But back on track. But yeah, the other day when we were testing, it was pretty cool actually figuring out when to use my brand new shiny raid button. So that was kind of fun in its own sense, and I feel like for mobility fights we will be strong because casters are having a hard time doing damage on the move.
That's good to hear. I like that. Shoot, what about you? How are we going to change? What stays the same? I mean, what is your impression on the hunter for these tests so far?
I mean, yeah, Fox is it's definitely interesting to figure out when to use it, and I think, you know, we kind of have to start planning ahead and talking to, I mean, probably healers quite a bit and saying, hey, you know, when is this good for you? Because that's something they're gonna wanna be able to have and know when they have it, you know. A lot of, you know, stuff still feels the same, just, you know, rotation, but mechanics are really, really fun so far. So being a hunter traps being responsive, although I mean there's not really much use for traps.
Sure.
Obviously in the encounters they're not like
Yeah.
a deep head boost,
Right.
obviously for global, but I mean the traps being responsive is cool. The new pets I've been having a lot of fun with, although most people don't, you know, care very much about that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure.
That
no,
is- no,
that
that is
incorrect.
not true.
Not
That's not
true.
true.
What have you been enjoying about the pets? Let's hear it, because I know a lot of listeners have enjoyed
My
the
hippo.
pets.
Just yeah, I mean one of the other hunters in our raid, like, he caught a bugged snake that's just gigantic, so that's pretty hilarious. I've caught Chimeron on pretty much every time I make another character I catch him just for fun.
You gotta
just-
catch them all.
Yeah, stuff like that. Although Chimeron was bugged, and that's why Stampede's been disabled, because
Yes,
he was going ham on people. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun day, for sure. But yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it then. So, I mean, we've only briefly experienced a little bit of the raid testing thus far, and I guess before we move on to our last topic, what is your guys' estimated beta release date?
Soon, TM.
Yes, of course. How could it not be soon? I know. TM, yes.
You mean like the actual release date?
Yeah. What do you guys? I mean, obviously Blizzard is just gonna. Yeah, of course, what Artemis said. But I mean, if you had to pick a date, what would it be?
I don't really know at this point, because it could be before BlizzCon, but then it could be after BlizzCon, which would be nice. Blizzard, if you're listening, do it after BlizzCon. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, we lost a solid week to progression on Paragons during that week. Yeah, obviously.
If just before, it wouldn't just be like, you're close to the last boss. It would, for many guilds, it would be like very early for many guilds out there. So it would really, really be a bummer.
Yeah, it would jar up a lot of raid teams that agree to do it prior. But that just hurts to know that we're not going to see an expansion until, what is it, like mid-November? Is your speculated guess?
Yeah, it's painful to think about, but it would be better for the community at this point, at least, because there's a lot of things that need to get ironed out still on beta, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be... it's definitely not going to be September, obviously, because we're kind of in that window where that's out the window, but...
Yes.
In the window that it's out the window. I English good.
English. Shoot, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, November is preferable, obviously, for a lot of reasons. But I am not sure if that's... I think that's probably gonna happen. Yeah, November release. But you never know. I mean, testing is...
underway.
Testing's underway. I mean, we're 6 bosses into testing now out of 17 on. I mean, that's still only on heroic, obviously.
Yes, of course.
Mythic testing has not begun yet, but on the same token, I mean, also things are. I wouldn't say things on the beta are smooth,
No.
but if you look at how things were for, say, like the butcher testing, where I don't know what 3 guilds tested it.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, actually, things are kind of a little bit more stable. Things are definitely not
Were you not
super
there last
stable.
raid test?
Oh, shoutouts to the hole in the spire, that one hole in the world in the spires of Iraq or whatever. There's that one hole that you can fall into that there's no ground over, and you just fall through the world. That hole has definitely got me a couple times, so yeah, things definitely need to get fixed, but yeah.
There's a lot of unfinished models, not just character models, there's a lot of unfinished models in the world. There's still a lot of textures that need to be put out. It feels like there's a lot that needs to be done. There's not a lot of quests that are still ready. There's a lot missing.
Sorry about that.
Oh, I was gonna say hello. Did you fall out of your chair?
Hello there.
Hello. You alright, Shoot?
Yeah.
Okay, good, excellent. Okay, well, yeah, beta definitely does not feel polished. I would agree. I mean, of course, beta is a beta for that reason alone.
Oh,
but...
right, I know.
Yes. Okay,
but
so.
I'm just saying, in its current state is why I feel it's not going to be ready yet.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree. Do you think? I guess lastly, our last beta topic before we move on. Do you feel that the hunter class is going to expect any major changes before launch?
I feel like it's hard to gauge, but they feel like aspect of the Fox. I feel like it's probably going to be the last major thing that's going to happen to hunters. I don't want to be right about that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Shoot, do you feel like there's anything that we're gonna see?
No, I pretty much agree with that. I think aspect of the Fox in terms of stuff is gonna be, it's gonna be the last major thing. We will obviously probably see some, maybe some coefficient changes or damage changes on spells to adjust tuning, but in terms of actually, a spell getting added in or something big like that, I think that's, aspect of the Fox is the last big thing that's going to happen for hunters up until live. But, who knows? I mean, they could definitely throw a curveball at us. It's always possible.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, I heard that. So, lastly, let's talk about what I've been mentioning for a couple shows now, but we talked a little bit about it last Team Hunter Raid Night. BlizzCon meeting. Any plans for the hunter community? I know we've assembled quite the task force now.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Lot of-
sure Artemis is organizing something at the
lot of
Hilton or
vague
something like
ideas.
that.
I wouldn't mind doing lanyards for hunters. That would be kind of fun to do.
Yeah, I mean, and
Like,
shirts,
pass
of
out
course.
Saturday night or something. I don't know about shit. That might be a little too much right now, but I think lanyards would be a very doable thing. They're not too hard to mass produce. They're not too expensive to mass produce. If people want to donate, we'll probably set up some kind of like PayPal thing to do that with. It's
Yeah.
just a lot of things are vague right now because we haven't had too much feedback from other players outside of our raid about it. So
Well, here we
I just
are.
want to extend that. Hello, everyone.
Yes, hello, hunters out there. Yeah, I think let's make this reality. I mean, it's going to be a BlizzCon blowout, absolutely. I think a lot of people are very hyped for, what is it, 3 months now? 3.5 months, something like that.
It's so close.
It's
like,
getting closer.
People don't understand. It's August now. Think about it. Like, oh my god, it's coming. And my first BlizzCon was last year actually, and I had so much fun just meeting people. And I want to do that again on a larger scale and meet the hunters in this community as well, and try to help other hunters meet other hunters, vice versa, and have fun together.
Yeah, I agree.
Shoot will be there, and
Yes.
Shoot and Clipper are gonna have a lot of fun. I heard.
Yeah, obviously.
Yep.
Me and Clipper are definitely gonna have a lot of fun.
I'm sure. Of course.
Would you like to go into
yeah,
detail
we like
about what fun you're doing?
that
Clipper is cooking me dinner, I'm told. So I'm pretty excited
and
about
some
that.
and some exciting garb, right? Isn't his get up going to be pretty exotic?
Yeah, pretty excited about Clipper cooking me dinner.
I believe
Nothing.
it was
What's he gonna wear when he cooks
in-
his dinner?
His bikini apron or whatever.
just
Yeah.
the bikini apron, right?
Just the bikini apron.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Yeah,
Nothing
but
else.
what hunters are going this year? It's of course Artemis Shoot and myself. I know Roger Clipper from Midwinter, Roger from Method,
There.
Div from Blood Legion. Are we missing anybody?
Clipper, Midwinter.
Yep.
You're going, right?
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay, well you're going.
Trying to remember who from
Foxy's going.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else.
So we have a whopping total of 6 hunters representing the Warcraft community coming to BlizzCon. Just kidding. All 6 of us, yeah. We'll sit in, yeah, no, it'll be fun, and there's gonna be tons of people there.
No, kidding.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I think the goal is to try and find a place to meet up. I don't know whether it's going to be at the con or perhaps like at the Hilton, like maybe on one of the nights. Yeah, there's conference rooms I know, and then the Convert to Raid it also hosts a party at the Hilton in an upstairs conference room. We might be able to steal like a quarter of that room for ourselves.
Little tiny quarter. We'll just take the corner, guys.
Yeah.
All the hunters that are going, just need that much space.
But it'll be a good time, guys. If you haven't, I mean, obviously, if you can still grab your, get your paws on a BlizzCon ticket, my recommendation would be go for it.
I have, there's a Facebook group that does BlizzCon-oriented things, and they help each other get tickets if people need to, like, drop out and they have a ticket to sell, etc. They keep it fair, like, nobody's going over face value or anything. I'll just link it to you on Mumble so you can just...
Excellent. Yeah, I'll put that on the show notes if you guys are still interested. Apparently there is a Facebook group, like Artemis said, that will help you perhaps get a ticket. So if you're interested, I'll put that in the show notes on YouTube and on the website.
They have
There
really
it is.
fierce rules about it. People who are, of course, trying to scam, they get immediately banned. So there's been a lot of success stories more than bad stories. So it's a giant thread. It's literally the pin post on top. But it's also a group where people just talk about WoW. They talk about like getting hotel rooms to share with each other. So if you haven't found a room, you got to take it. But you haven't found a room yet, there's a lot of safe people that aren't scary strangers that need home. So
Well, yeah, excellent.
one way
I'm
to
sure.
meet other people going to. It's been getting a ton of members. I'm not an admin of it, but I'm just trying to throw it out there. So
Yeah, if you guys still have interest in BlizzCon, this may sound like the opportunity for you. And of course, like we said, we're definitely going to have some form of meetup. We don't know the logistics yet, when or where, but it'll happen. So stay tuned for that, and we'll make it a reality.
one last Facebook post I want to link.
Mhm.
This is the Warcraft Hunter Union. This is a big Facebook group for hunters of Warcraft that are very, very, very active. This is something I am admin of. I got that recently for all the stuff we've been doing, so it's been pretty cool. And I did have like a meetup plan that's been pinned up on top, but there has been a lot of feedback on it. So if you're interested, just join this group. I don't know how that's going to be linked, but it'll be linked somewhere. I promise. and, give in your feedback. There's a lot of people that post about hunter stuff on here. It's a good way to meet other folks too.
Yeah, do it. I think the more way we can, network with other hunters is a definitely good opportunity to do so. So with that, BlizzCon behind us, I'm very excited for it. Do you guys have any? I guess we should say any ways to contact you guys as we wrap up the show here. How do we get in touch with you?
Best way for me, because my battle tag list is full, you can ask Shoot. Like, weekly I have to be like, can you please add this guy? I can't remove anyone. Can you help me? I have all these people added for the raid, but I can't exactly add them. Best way to contact me, Twitter, @Artemishowl. Not trying to self-promote, but that's
No, that's what it's for.
way.
That's what it's for.
MMO champion, I'm always there too. In-game, well, duh. So you can send me a PM in-game if you don't want to do any of the other stuff.
And Shoot, what about you? How can people get in touch with you and see the content that you provide?
It's just twitch.tv/Schottenheim. Or people can also go to my YouTube, which is, let's see, yeah, it's youtube.com/fallingdarkness, and that's my channel. And I have like some soloing stuff up, and always trying to post. I have a few Team Hunter videos up there as well. And yeah, you can send me a private message on YouTube or on Twitch, and I'm usually able to respond. If it's like a soloing question, I try to respond pretty quickly, but sometimes I don't respond right away, so yeah.
You need a Twitter.
I was gonna say, where's the Twitter handle? Yeah.
Your Twitter.
I don't know. I just don't really need one. I mean, I've never.
It's the way of the future.
It is, yeah. I mean, it would help when I go live, I guess, but I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so Twitch and YouTube for Shoot, and Twitter for Artemis, and I think that'll do it. And thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, guys. It was a good talk. I'm glad we had this discussion about Beta and Team Hunter. I'm very glad to have you guys on. And thank you for coming again, of course.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are most welcome.
Thank you.
Hooray.
I'm happy to be here.
You are welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you guys could make it out. I know it was very early in the morning for us, 9 a.m. for me. I know Artemis lives in this very strange time zone called Central. I don't know what states. I guess Illinois and Texas and Missouri, right?
Illinois, Texas, and Missouri. I live in all three states, actually.
And Shoot and I woke up at like 9 in the morning to be here. So yeah, I'm glad you guys could make it out again. Thank you.